Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It happens from time to time where we sometimes have that aha moment where the light bulb goes off and you're like, that's what's going on there. Well, that can very much happen when you're searching for a reason why you don't do something or you do something or something is holding you back. And to find that aha moment, many of us turn to hypnotherapy. And I can tell you, I had the aha moment. And she is a clinical hypnotherapist, very effective at what she does and helping people find their aha moment. Becky Waters joins us again from the Center for Inner Wellness. Welcome back, Becky. How you doing?
Hi, Steve. I'm doing great. Thank you.
It's good to have you back here. Let's talk about a client that had one of those aha moments where they realized, oh, that's why I do what I do, or that's why I'm not doing what I think I should be doing, and I'm blocking something from happening and blocking myself from being happy and joyful.
Yeah, I've actually had several of those clients this year so far, and they've just had some incredible aha moments. Sometimes someone has actually said to them, look, this is the reason why you're having trouble in relationships. And he's like, I really had to look at that, and I do see the patterns. And, we had been talking about it over and over, and it's, but sometimes you just have to hear it in the right words, and to really kind of make it click as you're doing this work anyway, which makes you more aware. And so he really had to look at it, and was, when we talked, he was in that place of, kind of self-condemnation, of feeling bad about himself, and this is the way I am, oh gosh, oh no. And and trying to, and as we talked, was trying to turn that around. It's like, look, this person gave you an amazing gift. They said it point blank, this is what's going on, and now what are you going to do with it? How do you want to be different now that you see that pattern, becoming more aware of it and noticing, the thought patterns that bring it about, the behaviors, and to begin to start changing the habit.
So can you take us through the progression of that? So somebody came to you, had hypnotherapy. Tell us how many sessions when we go there. And then somebody in their world said, hey, do you realize that you're doing this? And as a result of the hypnotherapy, and then somebody saying that, it was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah. And so I can't really tell you how many sessions because everybody's different. Everything is different.
Sure.
But just say it's more than 6 or a couple of months. These particular people I've been working with for, several months, one a year or so more. But the thing is, when you do hypnosis, it the whole point of it is making the unconscious conscious. So you become more aware of the things that you're doing, the thoughts, habits, the feeling habits, because it's all habit. And so, we work on ourselves, go out into the world and get feedback. And so you take that feedback, and it's like, okay, so I'm learning more and more of these patterns because we had talked about them multiple sessions. And sometimes it just takes a while to just really click.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see it clearly now, and I don't like the results. I don't like this. However, so you can go down the poopy path of let's feel bad about it and condemn yourself, or you can say, okay, this gives me more information. How can I now notice those particular ways of thinking or feeling that bring along this pattern?
And it sounds like this person, this client, wouldn't have realized it unless they had the hypnotherapy, because somebody in their world could have said, hey, do you realize that every time that happens, you do that? And they might not connect it. at all. And they might just,
Yeah.
it's almost like, a spouse says something to your partner, whatever, and you're like, that, I don't do that. But in fact, you do, and you don't
Hmm.
know why you do it. But with hypnotherapy, I call it connecting the dots. Now it's connected.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Mhm.
that happened way back in the day, and that's why I'm doing this now. And then you're realizing it, so the dots are all connected. Was this something from this client's childhood that was causing them to do whatever they're doing?
Well, the thing is, um, a blanket statement that may or may not be true for everybody, everything, but a lot of things do come from childhood because we set up patterns and ways of responding and thinking early on in life. I was listening to an audiobook the other day, and they were talking about how, you know, our money beliefs get started, at 3 or 4 years old. I mean, we
Yeah,
have those and relationships, how we do relationships, those
sure.
get set, before we go to first grade, literally. And those patterns, um, they serve us at that time. And, whatever the pattern that got set or coping mechanism, um, belief, it helps us survive our childhood. It got us through to a point, and so as adults, when we realize, this thinking, this habit, this way of responding to the world
Yep.
is not working for me anymore, then it's really about updating the software, changing the beliefs, changing the habits, changing the responses.
What's challenging, I think, for many of us is those beliefs that were put in during our childhood for whatever reason. Could have been your parents said something, could have been the way you were treated, could have been something you heard in a room that it wasn't even directed at you, but you internalized it.
Mhm.
That starts there. Then you fast forward to your relationships. We'll center on that for the moment
Mhm.
and the way you act in those relationships. Then the relationship or two go bad as a potential result of the way you internalize something. And relationships go both ways, but you sought that person out because
Mhm.
of that stuff in the past. Now you're dealing with the stuff in the past, the stuff in the more recent past. Could be even a trauma, divorce because of this, and it
Yeah,
all it's a web. Like there's a lot of things to unpack, but hypnotherapy is something that definitely can do it.
right, because hypnotherapy gets to the subconscious, directly to the subconscious, and that's where all those habits and behaviors and old beliefs that we've consciously forgotten about, that's where they all reside. And we, I've said this over and over, that we live the life our subconscious mind believes in. And
Mm. That's so true.
yeah.
How about some examples of, and it's all anonymous, but a client that had a limiting belief and how that affected their life now and how hypnotherapy helped them?
um I've been working with a woman, many years, over and over, or along and along. Like many clients, we work together, and then they um, come back later when something comes up, which is, how life is, and working on, again, organizational ways we respond to life, and um, taking care of ourselves. Um, a lot of times we're our own worst enemy, because we'll take care of others or do for them, but we won't do for ourselves.
Hmm.
And again, that's kind of how we grew up, how we learned to do things.
So how did it affect her? Like that was the way she was brought up or something that she dealt with affected her. It sounded like you said organizational or disorganization in her life.
Yeah,
Wow.
being able to let things go. We all have the the room that's a storage room, or the drawer, a junk drawer, or just a whole bunch of stuff that just piles up and piles up. And you know it takes energy to go through that, but then there's also emotional attachments, or whatever you grew up believing about those things. And it's hard to let them go. It's much easier just to shut the door and go on. And so through looking at those old beliefs, how our parents were, how she, just different things, and setting some plans. A lot of times it's just, we have all these ideas in our mind and we just need somebody to help us focus and logically look at what needs to be done, and then what's the resistance about doing those things that we all know need to do, but just looking at the resistance about it.
I have a fascination about what happens in people's childhoods and how it regulates them or charts their course today. What was the belief that she had from her childhood? Did you get to that? Did that ever come up, during the sessions?
It may or may have. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at it,
Yeah.
from a different perspective as to what caused her to not let go of things. Did she, what was her upbringing? Challenging and economically, and it was like, we don't throw things away. Maybe abandonment, attached to objects. I'm always curious about how that all goes together.
Yeah, and everybody's different.
Yeah, sure.
um it can be anything. You grow up when you're not, you grow up poor in a poor family, and so then you want to hold on to things, or it has sentimental value, moving around, a military life, those few things that you can kind of take with you become sacred.
Mm.
um, or fear of loss, or we tie our worthiness to those things, and we don't do it consciously,
Right.
because really, going through the clutter and all the past, you are literally going through the past. Yeah, I had
Mm.
a talk to a prospect the other day, and she was like, do we have to go into our childhood? And it's like, the difference between traditional therapy and hypnotherapy is, traditional therapy, you basically go through the trash and kind of analyze it and try to understand it. We don't do that. We look at the past when it comes up into the present, and it all happens in, when we're feeling stuck, or when we have an experience that brings up an emotion, or there's a pattern that we can't seem to let go of. And so
But
then
many
it's
times the
a
past
matter of,
comes up, though, doesn't it? Like, it's,
it comes up
invariably.
in the present, in emotions and habits, in resistance.
Do you? I relived it when in the session that I had, where I went back to my childhood. I asked to go there, knew where I wanted to go, knew what was going on. I connected the dots ahead of time. And I saw myself as, a 3-year old, a 4-year-old, and 7-year-old. It was like watching a movie. It was
Yeah.
kind of interesting seeing yourself there with your eyes closed as you're visualizing that. And it wasn't anything, for anybody, again, I don't people that say, I don't want to go back to my childhood. It wasn't anything that I could have not wanted to see. I was fully on board for it, but I could have stopped at any time and said, no, I'm good. I don't want to see any more. Um, and I will say, it's not that hypnotherapy brought these things out that I didn't know. I didn't see things in my childhood that prior to hypnotherapy, if I closed my eyes, I couldn't see. It was all those places, all those images there, but it was almost like watching a movie, and I confronted myself as an adult talking to my
Yeah.
little self then,
Mhm.
and that's where the effectiveness came in.
Right.
But I really did think with the going back that I was going to see, me and my dad's boat, that one day or this there or that. No, these are all images that are all in my mind now prior to hypnotherapy. Do people tell you that they
Right.
see things that things come up literally from their past when you take them in to a session?
Um, well, generally when we go, it's kind of like parts work. Go in and go back to that younger version. We're going there for a specific reason because a memory has come up or an emotion has come up that's tied to a memory, usually a childhood experience that we
Hmm.
had no capacity to understand. And we all want to feel heard, um, and be seen. And often as children, when something was going on, like the parents are going through this divorce, and we're left kind of on our own because they're really not available to help us through that. And so it's very healing to go back as your now self,
Hmm.
back to that younger version, and through a process give that younger version what they needed to feel heard, to
Yep.
feel understood.
Yep.
And because I've found that with clients and with myself, as I've done these exercises, it tends to center around a certain age, um, after a while, that it always seems to go back to. Um, and then you work on that, and it's just like a root system. You work on it, it gets cleared out. You work on it some more, like that upward spiral. It's always different the next time you go back.
When you said certain age, you mean each individual. It's not like five is the sweet spot for everybody.
Oh,
No,
no, no,
you
no,
mean a
no.
situation, every situation, every person is different. But it seems what you're
Right.
saying is when you go back in time, you may in your mind, the person that's being hypnotized may have some ideas. Maybe it was three, maybe it was seven, but you kind of home in on it. And it's a certain age where everything kind of points back to that age.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me particularly, it was around age 2 that everything seemed
Wow.
to come back to. For another a client, it was like age around 12, when she had a
Hmm.
very um, critical thing that happened. Other people, it's more in their teenage years. It just depends.
I I'm not sure what age would be the center for me because I'm thinking of it now that you said it. Because the common theme, I was bullied. I was bullied for a bunch of years, so I
Mm.
can't pinpoint and say it's I was I was seven. Um, but I did go back from seeing myself three, to five to seven, maybe a little bit more in the timeline of watching it. And that was just one session. I can't imagine doing it again. What might come up.
That was a lot in one session.
It was pretty cool. It was, but maybe I'm different. I knew where I wanted to go. I was like,
Yeah,
you're
not everybody knows that.
I suspect issues in present day are connected to a lot back then. So I just wanted to work on that. So it was almost like, all right, we're right there. So I guess in that session, maybe my one session might have been really three in terms of what took
Yeah,
place. And I was on board. I'm like, yeah, I'm going back. Close my eyes. What do you got for me? And I'm going to say it wasn't fun. It was interesting, emotional, and comforting all at the same time. Like
yeah.
give it description, that's what it was.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because most people are afraid of going there and feeling the feelings, and I'll get stuck there.
Mm,
Or but emotions are just energy in motion, and they have a message, and it's just being brave enough to step into it and just breathe through it, because it's energy in motions. It's going to pass, but we tend to be afraid of it, so like we hook onto that emotion and just grab a hold of it, and won't let it go. And you know you can't contain energy. That's how they make bombs. So it's going to come out somewhere.
Interesting analogy, because I call it the emotional bucket, where you're filling the bucket. At some point it's got to overflow.
Yeah.
You can't keep it in there. So at some point, either somebody's going to break down and just have a moment where it just, things happen.
Mhm.
um yeah, crazy when you think
Yeah,
about that.
and a lot of people will search for alternative things when they've tried everything. You know, the the bucket is overflown, and they've tried everything else, and sometimes you just have to hit bottom before you
Well,
ask for.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes you do, to realize that you need to get some help.
Yep.
um in the next couple of minutes we have here, any other examples about somebody where they
Mhm.
were and where they went based on hypnotherapy? And again, it's all anonymous, but I'm just kind of curious. I find it intriguing.
Yeah. You know, I've had somebody come for asking about weight loss recently, and so many people, addicted to sugar. Um,
Mm.
and you know, we won't go down that line, but um, it's weight loss is such a complicated a complicated thing, because it's not like smoking. You can just stop smoking. You can't stop eating. And we all have associations, food is family, celebration, cake, you know,
Yep.
all those things. And so, if you want to lose weight, that's part of the emotional ties, the reassociating, and um that you have to work with changing the associations, changing changing the reward, because every habit, and everything is a habit, um has the trigger, the habit, and then the reward. And so, and the subconscious mind is about reward.
Never thought of it that way. Yeah, when you think about somebody smoking, what's the reward?
That moment away, nobody will bother me. I get to take that break.
Right.
um, you know
Yeah, yeah. The feeling that I have when I am smoking, maybe it's a social thing too. I'm talking to some other people.
right.
Um, you know, for somebody with an addiction, the reward might be it makes them feel better.
Yeah, yeah, everything we do is because we think it's going to make us feel better, be happy.
Addiction is definitely one of the things that you deal with when it comes to hypnotherapy. All types of addictions, not just smoking.
um I don't really do the drugs. I don't have a lot of experience and expertise in that. um I'm better with smoking, um getting more into the vaping habit, emotional eating, alcohol, helping people reduce the alcohol. But drugs, I don't have that
Sure.
training.
But when we say vaping, could it be nicotine as well as, let's say, marijuana, to go that far?
I did have someone come to me for the marijuana thing, and I don't feel comfortable with that either, because I haven't had that much experience
Gotcha.
with that.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I often forget, like, a hypnotherapist is a therapist in some regards. It's not just your robotic. I'm going to take you back in time. You're going to go back. I'm going to fix a problem. No, you're hearing them. You're listening to them.
yes.
And,
Yeah.
when you have future visits with them, see where they are, where they're looking to go. There's a lot going on there.
Right. Hypnosis is really just a tool that we use.
Right.
Um, but there's therapy. I have a degree in mind body psychology, and so I'm very much into the therapy part of it, using the tool of hypnosis as well as other tools that bring in that trance and get beneath the surface into the subconscious.
Now you have a great background for this, but let's say somebody's a certified hypnotherapist. How deep does it go into therapy, or does it?
It depends on the hypnotherapist, really, what their training is. If you're looking for one, really look at what is their training, because you can take classes to learn how to hypnotize somebody over a weekend, and that may help you with some things. It's only going to take you so far.
Right. And that's where I was going with that. Yeah. I mean, there are some people that are trained to take you back, but you want to look for somebody that has like your credentials. You have more than just and not that that's anything bad to be just a certified hypnotherapist, but you also have a background in therapy that can help people, which is like a powerful combination.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. Becky, great talking with you today. What's your website?
It's centerforinnerwellness.com.
And free consult, somebody wants to reach out to you?
Yeah, you can sign up for a discovery session on the website or just give me a call.
Yeah. We have lots going on. It's a brand new year. Don't let your past control your future. And
Right.
you might not even know it is. That's the other part of it. So if you're dealing with something and finding yourself just, traditional talk therapy, not totally cutting it, hypnotherapy, definitely. Unfortunately, we always say this, Becky, that hypnotherapy is usually the last thing that people try.
Yeah.
Should be the first thing that people try. But it's all good stuff. Great talking with you. I really appreciate you being with us today.
Good to talk with you.
Thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.